Okay, we're starting this session of the quiz, and please understand, all of you who are participating, all of you can participate in the quiz because you're all registered delegates. That's how you're participating here. One thing is that on your mobile phone or whatever device you're using, please make sure that your full name is there. And if you have got space and you're techno savvy, please put your mobile number down as well. It makes it easier for the backend people to identify you. Because if you just write Ashok, there may be 5 Ashoks. And if you just write Pooja, there may be 7 Poojas taking part. So it becomes difficult for us to know who is the winner. So if you can put your full name and if possible, your mobile number, it becomes that much easier for the backend people to identify you.
Morning, sir. Good
Yes.
morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
So really thank Dr. Kulesh Satyarthi, sir, our mentor and guru, for always conducting the quiz with so much energy, and I think he's the one who holds the strings to all of us at BOA and MOS.
Thank you, Ragini. So without further ado, can we have the rules slide, please? So the rules are very simple. There'll be a question with 4 possible answers. You have to choose one of the 4. And when you, there is a 15-second timer. Once the 15-second timer is over, no more, the system will not allow you to answer. It will be taken as a pass. There is no negative marking. If you get the correct answer, then you will get the mark for that. There are 50 questions in all. Can we have these slides? Sai?
Yes, Doctor.
Yeah. The first slide is the rules, I think. Then there are a couple of dummy questions to get everyone accustomed to this. So while we are waiting for Sai to start again, yeah, okay. Okay, so this is the MOS NTOD Mega Quiz with NTOD as our really very willing partners and a great support. Thank you, NTOD. So these are these instructions. They're very simple. Total 50 questions. Each question will have 4 possible answers displayed for you to choose from. The time to answer every question is 15 seconds. You will see the timer on your screen. You will perhaps hear the timer as well. And once the time elapses, the last selected answer will be considered final. If you don't select any of these, we will assume that you passed for the question. After every 10 questions, we will have a leaderboard where we will display the people who are leading to motivate the others to catch up with them. Next. So this is the first dummy question.
Doctor, Doctor, one minute.
Yes.
Doctor. So I suggest you tell them how to join.
Yes. Okay, so every one of you is a registered delegate, so all of you can join the quiz. You need to type in your the full name, and if possible, if you can put your mobile number along with it, that would be very nice. Right in the beginning, so you're registered as a participant in the quiz. Sai, anything more to be added?
People are still joining. Can we wait for 2 minutes, Doctor?
Yeah, in the meantime, we'll have the first dummy question so that we will get the feel of it. Then we'll wait.
Okay.
So let's have the first dummy question. This is not for marks. So which is the dry eye brand of NTOD Pharma? Is it Forquin? Is it LOC Tears Fusion? Is it Monodexa or is it Myatro? So your time starts now. And the timer is hopefully going on. Sai, is the timer on for 15 seconds?
Yes, Doctor.
So you need to say when it's over. And I presume that 15 seconds are over, Sai?
Yeah, it's over, Doctor.
So now you can reveal the correct answer. Next slide. And the correct answer was B, LOC Tears Fusion is the dry eye brand of Entod Pharma. So this is how the answers will appear. Next slide. And you will come to know how many people answered this correctly. Also, when the, Sai, am I right? In the,
Yes, doctor. Yes.
Yeah. So perhaps not in the dummy questions, but in the others, you'll come to know how many people have answered correctly. So this is the second question, which is the Entod Pharma brand to achieve rapid mydriasis and sustained intraocular anesthesia on the operating table. Is it Hyloject CS? Is it 4-quin PFS? Is it Hyloject 14 or is it Phenocaine? And their time starts now. So when I say time starts now, that's the time you punch in your answers. Sai, are you getting answers?
Yes, doctor.
You're getting answers, no, from people?
7 people have answered it right.
Okay, and the correct answer, you can, no, go back. Yeah, Phenocaine is the correct answer. So this is how the quiz will be played. I presume that everyone is crystal clear on the subject. Sai, you want to wait for a couple of minutes?
Yes, doctor. We still have some people coming in.
Okay. We'll wait for a couple of minutes. In the meantime, it wouldn't harm to go back to the previous question. So a little plug on Entod, who are our platinum sponsors. Mr. Kishore Masurkar was with us during the AGM and the inauguration function yesterday in Pune at the Corinthians Club. And he gave us a fascinating glimpse of how he came back from UK eager to start work and started in a very small way in the mid 1970s. And it's been now almost 40 years plus that Entod has achieved a remarkable position. It is in the top 3 in Maharashtra and in the top 5 in India. And it has sales in about 25 countries besides India. So I think it's because the pharma market, especially in the eye drop segment, is a fairly competitive market with multinationals in most countries ruling the roost. So I think they've done a remarkable job so far and always kept up with coming out with newer and newer products like their Phenocaine, which has come out recently, and many of their other products responding to demands made by ophthalmologists from India. And Mr. Masurkar yesterday even very proudly stated that being Maharashtrian and being headquartered in Mumbai, he does have a soft corner for Maharashtra. Dr. Lahane also pointed out that he has been a tremendous supporter for free cataract surgeries, giving Dr. Lahane as many eye drops as he needs for all the eye camps, 5,000 vials of Phenocaine without charging a penny for the same. So that is a tremendous CSR work by any standards. And Dr. Lahane proudly said that he has not even prescribed a single Entod product because he never needed to, because all Entod products are given to the poor in JJ and in camps free of charge. His son Nikhil, of course, is a chip of the old block.
Should we start, doctor?
Yes, please. Okay. So we'll start with the first question. These were dummy questions. So this is the first one. Scheimpflug cameras, irrespective of how you spell them, evaluate in each scan approximately 120 points, 1200 points, 12,000 points, or 120,000 points. In each scan, approximately how many do they evaluate? And your time starts now. And fortunately, unfortunately for you, I cannot see the timer or hear the timer, and only dependent on Sai to tell me when it's over.
Doctor, the timer will display on the audience screen, Doctor.
Okay, fine. So you have to tell me it's over because I cannot see it. Yeah.
Time up, Doctor.
Time up, and the correct answer is D, 120,000 points. That's why it's so expensive. That's why these cameras are expensive. The more the points, the more the expense. It's roughly about 2,000 rupees per point detected. Don't calculate. My maths is not so great. Next. Excimer, the excimer lasers. Excimer stands for excited dimer. So what is a dimer? Is it argon fluoride gas? Is it piezoelectric crystal? Is it a metallic dime-sized disc? Or is it a cathode? I can read that. Okay. And your time starts now. In excimer, what does the dimer mean? What does dimer mean? What is meant by dimer? What gets excited besides the eye surgeon who's doing the procedure? Is it A, B, C, or D? And the time is?
Time up.
Time up. And the correct answer is two things get excited. One is the LASIK surgeon who's earning the money, and the second is the argon fluoride gas, which is excited. So the dimer is the AF gas. Next. Uveal melanoma is seen more in which people? Chinese, Bengalis, white Europeans, or Africans? Uveal melanoma. A, B, C, or D. And your time starts now. Bengalis are famous for many things like the fish, but not sure about whether melanomas are more there. Let's see, the time is over. Sai, and the correct answer is white Europeans. Uveal melanoma is seen more. Actually, melanomas are seen more in the white skin races. That's why I mentioned that's the only white skin race I mentioned. The others were yellow skin, brown skin, and black skin. To make it easy, we know that even skin melanomas are more in the white skin, the Caucasians. So this was a fairly easy answer. Next question. Radiation-induced macular edema can be treated by PDT, intravitreal steroids, anti-VEGF, or all of the above. Now, this is a trick question. See, whenever I give you all of the above, usually it's all of the above because it makes more logical sense. But I mean, it's your choice. You can answer A, B, C, or D, and your time is running out. Radiation-induced macular edema. And the correct answer Sai?
The correct answer is shown, Doctor.
All of the above. Yeah, so that's what I thought. You know, whenever it makes more logical sense to bid for all of the above. Try that the next time. Next question. Ozurdex, I have no shares in the company, has a biodegradable copolymer matrix of lactic and glycolic acid, or lactic and pyruvic acid, or citric and glycolic acid, or citric and pyruvic acid. So Ozurdex, which is no longer available, but as and when in the good old days when it was available, what was the copolymer matrix made of? One of these, A, B, C, or D. Your time starts now. And the correct answer was lactic and glycolic acid. Sai, is it possible to show how many get it right every time, or that's not possible?
That actually comes with the leaderboard every 10th question, doctor.
Okay, fine. We'll go on to question 6 then. Let's stick with uveal melanoma for one more question. Most uveal melanoma patients die due to metastasis where? Is it the brain, the kidneys, the lungs, or the liver? Let us assume that all uveal melanoma patients die, most of them because of metastasis, some due to old age. But metastasis, if it occurs, where is it most common? And your time is running on. Some will die due to old age, so leave them out of the picture. And the correct answer is the liver. Most of them die due to metastasis in the liver. Next. Lyme disease or Lyme disease. I've asked this question twice before. I hope all of you get it right now. There are some questions designed to make you feel good. So it's caused by alkali burns, by a spirochete, by low vitamin C, or by fungal infections. What is Lyme disease caused by? And your time is running on. I sincerely hope that all of you get this answer right. And the correct answer is a small bug called the spirochete, which causes this. It's not by alkali burns or low vitamin C or fungus. Next. In a normal angle, which is the immediate neighbor of Schwalbe's line? I presume in some point in life you have done gonioscopy or you've referred a patient for UBM for the angle. So what is the immediate neighbor of Schwalbe's line? Is it canal of Schlemm, iris processes, scleral spur, or the trabecular meshwork? And your time starts now. And the correct answer is the trabecular meshwork, which is the immediate neighbor of Schwalbe's line. Next. Drusen, those funny yellow stuff in the somewhere at the back of the eye. Where are they located? Are they below Bruch's membrane, below choroid, below the RPE, or below the rods and cones? Where exactly are the drusen located? Now you can find them on OCT, so you should know where they're located, and your time starts now. Simple drusen. You see them in dry ARMDs. You see them all the time in normal people also sometimes. Couple of drusen here and there. Where exactly are they? They are located below the RPE layer, the retinal pigment epithelial layer. Next. Glycosaminoglycan with units of N-acetyl glucosamine is descriptive of. So these are called N or GAGs. Is descriptive of sodium hyaluronate, chondroitin sulfate, HPMC, or CMC. GAG, glycosaminoglycan with repeating units of N-acetyl glucosaminoglycan. What am I describing? And the correct answer was sodium hyaluronate. The leaderboard now, after 10 questions.
Can I read out the names, doctor?
Yes, go ahead.
I would just read from the top 5.
Yeah.
The 5th position, there is Dr. Saravana Bava.
Yes.
The 4th position, there is Dr. Saumil Kothari.
Okay.
The 3rd position is Dr. Shalin Shah.
Yes.
The 2nd position is Dr. Sohini Sultana.
Okay.
And currently it is on the top is Dr. Divya Ramraika.
And what is the how many right in the first person?
He got 8 right. Dr. Divya has got 8 questions.
Very good. 8 out of 10 is excellent. Let's move on to the next set of 10 questions. The 11th question now. In what test do we refer to the Arden ratio? Again, this is one of my favorites, which I've asked before. Is it for ERG, VEP, ENG, or EOG? So electroretinography, visual evoked potentials, electronystagmography, or electrooculography. This is just to show how well I know the subject. And your time is running on. So the Arden ratio. And again, hopefully a majority of you will get this right because this is a repeat question. It's one of my favorites. And the correct answer is EOG. It's the light peak upon the dark trough, which is the highest point recorded in when the light is shown, and then the lowest point recorded when a patient is put in darkness. And this is is EOG. Normally is more than 2.5 is the ratio. Next. Tranexamic acid is used for chemical burns, traumatic hyphema as an anti-VEGF or as a chemotherapeutic agent. So tranexamic acid, what is it used for? And again, this is a very straightforward question. And your time is running on. And the correct answer is traumatic hyphema. Next. Full thickness macular hole on FFA, fluorescein fundus angiography, shows hypofluorescence, hyperfluorescence, no fluorescence, or a smokestack appearance. So if you do an FFA on a full thickness macular hole, pardon the spelling of thickness, what will you find? And your time starts now. And the correct answer is hyperfluorescence. Again, quite logical. If there's a hole there, like if there is a well there, it's full of water, a hole there is full of fluorescein. I mean, I am a cornea person, but I'm assuming this. Next. Scintillography is a test to diagnose disorders of the lacrimal drainage system, the ocular surface, retinal blood flow, or the blood aqueous barrier. I can't see the P's very clearly, so I'm assuming that's blood aqueous, but you can read it well. And your time starts now. Scintillography is a diagnostic tool for what? And the correct answer is lacrimal drainage system. Technetium 199 or something like that is pushed through the puncti, and then serial photographs are taken to see where it's moving. Next. Amblyopia is most likely to occur in a patient with Duane syndrome with intermittent exotropia or constant exotropia or accommodative esotropia. So in which of these patients is amblyopia most likely to occur? Again, think logically. The answer is there in front of you. Your time starts. Duane's intermittent exo, constant exo, or accommodative ESO? And the correct answer is accommodative ESO. In anything intermittent, why would amblyopia occur? The rest of the time, the patient is fixing. In Duane's, many times there is, in the typical Duane's, there is fixation. Primary fixation is good. So only accommodative ESO was left for you. Next. In the primary position, the primary action of superior oblique, is it extorsion, elevation, depression, or intorsion? Read the question carefully. Primary position and the primary action. So looking straight ahead is called the primary position. Your time has been going on. So what is the primary action of superior oblique? And the correct answer is D, intorsion. So the superior oblique is never an extorter in any position, and it's never an elevator in any position. So basically you have to choose between C and D. So in the primary position, it intorts. Next, VKH patients, that is Vogt-Koyanagi-Hardha's disease patients, have an increased HLA B2, B5, B22 or B27. So in a VKH patient, which one of these tests do you order? Vogt-Koyanagi-Hardha's, they have poliosis, white forelock, and they have pan-uveitis. So which of these HLAs is usually increased? And the correct answer is HLA B22, not B27, as is implicated in other uveitis. Next, the highest percentage of goblet cells in the conjunctiva is located where? Lower nasal fornix, upper nasal fornix, lower temporal fornix, or upper temporal fornix. So here you can flip a coin, but you have 15 seconds to wait, so don't flip it too high. And hopefully your coin has landed on the ground and you have chosen one of these four. So somebody actually sat down and counted goblet cells in all the fornices. Amazing, boring, but they did it so I could form a quiz question, and the correct answer is the lower nasal fornix. Next, in status migrainous, the headache lasts for over how much time before you can call it a status migrainous? Is it 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, or 96 hours? Status migrainous. Again, this is a question which I like and which I've asked before. Status migrainous headache, like status asthmaticus. Status asthmaticus is 3 days of asthma. Maybe status migrainous is the same. Who knows? Let's see. And the correct answer is 72 hours. Amazing. So I gave you the answer out. So I'm quite a nice guy as a quiz master, actually. Listen to me. So question 20, the first reported post-LASIK infection was caused by which organism? Now I'm asking you the first reported in literature, not the commonest. So was it Acanthamoeba, Nocardia, atypical mycobacteria, or fungus? Which was the post-LASIK infection which was first reported? Before that, nobody thought that LASIK could have infections. And the correct answer, the clock is ticking. So way back, about 20 years ago now, the first journal article appeared telling us that LASIK also can have infection, and that was Nocardia. I remember in those days, people would walk in with shoes on into it was not an operating theater, it would be part of their clinics because nobody took infection seriously. In Germany, when I'd gone to see LASIK, the surgeons walked in with shoes and normal street clothes and did LASIK. Next, leaderboard, please.
Just for information, nobody answered this question right. Probably it could be a complicated question, I think.
Amazing, because the atypical mycobacteria are more common nowadays, but the first reported LASIK was Nocardia. So can we have the leaderboard? Thank you, Sai.
Okay. On the position 5, it is Dr. Sonia Kothari.
Okay.
Dr. Saravana Baba stands 4th.
Okay.
Dr. Sohini Sultana stands 3rd.
Okay.
Dr. Saumil Kothari is on 2nd. And
wow.
Dr. Divya Ramraika stands 1st again.
Wonderful. So Saumil has jumped up and Sonia has joined him in the first 5. Wonderful. Go ahead. Normal levels of ACE or angiotensin converting enzyme are less than 3.5, less than 350, less than 0.35, or less than 35. So normal levels of ACE. It's that funny enzyme when you don't know what to do in a uveitis patient, you order a battery of tests. One of them is ACE. You don't really know what to do with it afterwards, but you order it because at least the labs have to make money. So what's the normal level? It's usually written on the side there, so you don't have to remember it. But in case you noticed it, the correct answer is less than 35. I presume that's 35 in D. Yeah. Okay. Next. Anti-AIDS drugs, Foscarnet and Cidofovir. These are amongst the earliest anti-AIDS drugs that came in. they affect what organ the maximum? The spleen, the kidney, the liver, or the heart? Anti-AIDS drugs, Foscarnet and Cidofovir. Now we have many more anti-AIDS drugs, but these are the earliest ones that came out. Before that, AIDS patients simply lay down and died. So as a side effect, they affect maximum the kidney. And the next question. On ultrasound, in a choroidal hemangioma, the internal reflectivity will be high, medium, low, or absent. In a choroidal hemangioma, the internal reflectivity, no one knows how to spell reflectivity, so don't worry about that, will be high, medium, low, or absent. And the time is on. It has to be one of these. And the correct answer is high. Choroidal hemangioma, there's high internal reflectivity. Next. Incidence of IPCV, just to prove that I know the full form, idiopathic polypoidal choroidal vasculopathy, is highest in the British, the Koreans, the Japanese, or the Chinese. And it's higher by a large margin. So wherever there are journal articles, they point out this. So IPCV is seen highest in which race? A, B, C, or D? And the correct answer by a huge lead is the Japanese. Yeah, so they have a lot of IPCV. A lot of articles have come from Japan, from showing the incidence is highest there. Next, in traumatic hyphema, the maximum chances of a rebleed are in 2 to 5 days, 5 to 8 days, 7 to 14 days, or 90 days. Traumatic hyphema, the maximum chances of a rebleed. I think 90-day hyphema is was called, I think, black ball hyphema or something like that. Could be, I mean, but your choice. A, B, C, or D. Quizmaster tries to help, but his short-term memory is not so great. The answer actually is just 2 to 5 days. The maximum chance of a rebleed. 90-ball hyphema is because you get recurring hyphema and recurring bleeds. Next. In Duane's type 3 syndrome, it's characterized by limited adduction and abduction, or limited adduction alone, or limited abduction alone, or by no retraction. So what's the difference between Duane's type 3 and the normal? So is it limited adduction and abduction, limited adduction, limited abduction, or nothing, no retraction? And your time starts now. And the correct answer is limited adduction and abduction. So both of them are limited. The eyes do retract inwards. And the other two, B and C, were examples of Duane's, primary Duane's, of main Duane's type 1 and type 2. Next. Digitalis toxicity results in macular edema, punctate retinopathy, xanthopsia, or RPE changes. So digitalis toxicity, many of our patients are on digitalis even in this day and age. And what do we have to look out for? Is it A, B, C, or D? And the time is rolling on. And the correct answer is xanthopsia, or yellowness in the field of vision. So you see things in shades of yellow. Xanthopsia is yellow vision. Next, the Bruckner test, or the Bruckner test as you pronounce it, is what is it used for? To diagnose breaks in the Bruch's membrane on OCT. It's a glaucoma provocative test. Is it for squint evaluation, or is it a tear evaluation using a Placidos? The Bruckner test or Bruckner test, depending on which part of Germany you come from. Nowadays, even the Germans speak English, so either pronunciation is okay. And the correct answer is used for squint evaluation. It's a very simple test. We won't go into details now. We want to finish the quiz in time. Answer next. Brimonidine. Brimonidine, I'm giving you a clue. It's an anti-glaucoma drug. For those doing only cornea or retina, it's an anti-glaucoma drug. Is it an alpha-2 agonist or an alpha-2 antagonist? Or is it an alpha-1 and 2 agonist or alpha-1 and 2 antagonist? So it's an anti-glaucoma drug, but what does it do? Which action is best describing it? A, B, C, or D? And the time is rolling on. Brimonidine. Fairly expensive. Most glaucoma drugs have become expensive. It's an alpha-2 agonist. Straightforward. Next question. The most common, again, this is one of my favorites, asked before, the most common neurological disorder causing photophobia is Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, stroke, or migraine. In which of these is photophobia most commonly seen? Patients with Alzheimer's, patients with Parkinson's, stroke, or migraine? Answer again is fairly obvious there. And the correct answer, hopefully many of you get this right, is migraine. Alzheimer's, the poor fellow won't complain of anything, let alone photophobia. In Parkinson's, he's too busy trying to hold his alcohol glass without spilling. The stroke fellow is lying horizontal with one hand moving. He's not going to complain of photophobia. That leaves only the poor migraine patient. And the leaderboard now, Sai.
I'm just reading from the bottom. Dr. Shalin Shah now is on 5th.
Okay.
Dr. Sonia Kotari is on 4th.
Okay.
Dr. Saumil Kotari is on 3rd.
Okay.
Now Dr. Divya Ramraika is on the 2nd, and Dr. Saravana Baba has taken the 1st position.
Wonderful. So Saravana, you did wonderfully in the last 10 questions to go up to number 1. All the best to all of you, and may some more people come into the top 5. Let's go to question 31. The most potent botulinum toxin is type A, type B, type D, or type F. So the most potent botulinum toxin is which type? So again, for anyone who's used Botox or botulinum toxin, either from China or from USA, would get this straight away. But for those who haven't used it, you have just 4 alphabets to choose from. And the correct one, and now perhaps the only one available in India, is the type A Botox or botulinum toxin. Next. In ptosis evaluation, the distance between the center of the pupillary right reflex and the upper lid margin, please understand the question, with the eye in extreme up gaze. So the eye is looking up. What's that distance? Is it called MRD1, MRD2, MRD3, or MRD4? That's MRD stands for margin reflex distance. So which of these? It's very specific, and time is rolling on. So distance between the center of the pupillary light reflex with the eye looking up, yeah, and the upper lid margin. That's why it's called margin reflex distance. Margin of the pupil of, okay, and it's MRD3 is the correct answer. Next question. In an adult orbit, the volume of the orbit is approximately how many times the volume of the eyeball? You know that the orbit is bigger than the eyeball, otherwise the eyeball wouldn't fit. So is it 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, or 6 times bigger than the volume of the eyeball? So if the eyeball is 1 mm, is the orbit 6 mm? It's not even mm actually, it will be cc because it's volume. So think a little logical. I would say somewhere in the middle, you know, whenever there are 2 extremes, 3 and 6, we drop it and choose between 4 and 5. And the correct answer is therefore 4. I pad it on both sides, no? So 4 is logical. Next. Staying with the orbit, if a lesion in the orbit is iso-intense on T1 and very hyper-intense on T2, you know, these expensive diagnoses, we do CT scans, MRI. So if it's isointense on T1 and very hyperintense on T2, what would you think of first? Is it sarcoidosis, a hematoma, metastasis, or thyroid eye disease? This is a lesion in the orbit, not in the brain. Isointense on T1 and very hyperintense on T2. It's very classical. And the correct answer is a hematoma. Only a hematoma behaves like this. Isointense on T1 and hyperintense. So straight away, you know it's a blood clot. It's not metastasis. Patient can heave a sigh of relief. And you can drain it and make money. Next. Which of these is not a 4-mirror gonio lens? Is it a Zeiss, Susspen, Posner, or a Kepi? One of them is not a 4-mirror gonio lens. It could be a 1-mirror, it could be a 2-mirror. Maybe it's not a gonio lens, but something is not right. A, B, C, or D. Again, no commercial or financial interest, and I didn't know any of these gentlemen. They're all male, so gentlemen. And the correct answer is the Kepi lens or the Kepi lens, which is not a 4-mirror gonio lens. Next. Now, this is for our MOS stalwarts. Which of these stalwarts hail from the same MOS zone? We have 5 zones in the MOS: Western, Central, and Northern, and so on. So which of these stalwarts hail from the same zone? Madan Gopal and Ishwar Chandra, Ursekar and A.D. Patwardhan, D.L. Maria and H.K. Dordi, or Y. Paranjpe and Dr. Sadova Athavale. So which of these stalwarts hail from the same MOS zone? All of them are no more with us. And the correct answer is Dr. Madan Gopal and Ishwar Chandra, both of whom hail from Vidarbha. Dr. Ursekar was from Bombay. In Central Zone, Dr. A.D. Patwardhan was from Pune. Dr. D.L. Maria, Aurangabad. Dr. Dorti, Bombay. Dr. Paranjpe from Sangli and Dr. Athavale from Jalgaon. So only Dr. Madan Gopal and Ishwar Chandra were from the same zone. Next. In white without pressure or white with pressure, in both, the peripheral retinal thickness is unaffected, mildly decreased, markedly decreased, or it's increased. In this peripheral retinal degeneration, what about the retinal thickness there? Doesn't make any difference in your treatment of the condition, but just for purposes of quiz questioning, God made the retinal thickness one of these 4, so that I could ask this in the quiz. And the correct answer is it's increased. So you would think that degenerations cause thinning, not always. White without pressure or white with pressure, the retinal thickness is increased in that area. Next. What is an erisophake? Again, a favorite question of mine. What is an erisophake? It's an instrument used for femtocataract surgery. It describes blood staining of the crystalline lens. It's an instrument used for intracapsular cataract extraction or blood staining on an IOL. Eri, like in quite a bloody thing. Fake is lens. So the correct answer is that it's an instrument used for intracapsular cataract extraction. We used it. It was like an ink filler for those who have seen ink fillers, or an eyedropper for in the old days when we had eyedropper bottles. So it is something like that. You suck. It forms a suction cup on the lens, and you pull the erisophake, the rubber bung, and the whole lens comes out intracapsularly. Next. Value of the Schirmer's test with anesthesia divided by the clearance rate is what is this index? Tear function index, lacrimal efficiency index, OSD index, or the DTS index? Tear function index, lacrimal efficiency index, or ocular surface disease index, or the dysfunctional tear syndrome index. So what is this? And the correct answer is the tear function index. So it's used to describe the tear function index. Again, something which is not used nowadays. We go straight for the those fancy gadgets which cost lakhs of rupees. We don't do all this calculation business, but in the old days, this was done and it was called the tear function index. Next. LF granules, like LF is lipofuscin. Lipofuscin granules accumulate in AMD, age-related macular degeneration. In which part of the cells? Is it in the mitochondria, in the cell wall, in the lysosomes, or in the nucleus? So lipofuscin granules, where do they accumulate? In which part of the cells, of the damaged cells? They accumulate somewhere. And the correct answer is they accumulate in the lysosomes itself. If they were to accumulate in the nucleus, it would, or the cell wall, the cell would die or apoptosis much faster. It's a lingering disease, so they accumulate in the lysosomes and have to reach a certain level before the cell dies. Next, leaderboard.
The scores have changed. Now, Dr. Divya Ramraika is on the 5th position.
Okay.
Dr. Shailin Shah on 4th, Dr. Sonia Kothari on 3rd, Dr. Saravana Baba on 2nd, and Dr. Saumil Kothari has climbed to 1st.
Wonderful. Saumil and Sonia, both of you still in the race. That's great. And we go to the final set of 10 questions. Next. High altitude retinopathy. So suppose you were to climb Mount Everest, you would get possibly deep retinal hemorrhages and vascular constriction, or deep retinal hemorrhages and vascular dilatation, if you saw the fundus, if somebody went up with an ophthalmoscope to the Everest, or superficial retinal hemorrhages and vascular dilatation, or superficial retinal hemorrhages and vascular constriction. So which of these is the fundus finding most likely in HAR, or high altitude retinopathy? If you survived, of course. So in a living person, if two people went up Everest, one with an ophthalmoscope, what would he see in his partner? And the correct answer is C. Superficial retinal hemorrhages and vascular dilatation is what you would see most likely. Next. At birth, the average axial length of the eyeball is 15.8 millimeters, 16.8 millimeters, 17.8 millimeters, or 18.8 millimeters. Average axial length. See, again, I try and crowd it like that, so the answers would be somewhere in the middle, I mean, according to me, but you can take a hazard a guess. I'm quite a good quiz master, you know. But the correct answer is 16.8. So yeah, correct. Wonderful. Go to 43. Which of the following is incorrect about the ILM of the retina? Internal limiting membrane of the retina. It's derived from vitreous. It's 2.5 microns thick. It's a multilaminar membrane, or it's semi-transparent. One of them is incorrect. Not knowing anything about ILM, I would have said all of them are incorrect, but evidently 3 out of the 4 are correct. The correct answer, the time is ticking. And the correct answer is it's derived from the vitreous is incorrect. So possibly it's not derived from the vitreous. The next question, similar question. Now let's go to idiopathic ERM. Which of the following is incorrect about idiopathic ERM of the retina? It's avascular, it is fibrocellular, PVD is usually absent, and D, I can't read, but you can read the, Sai, can you read it for me?
It's medical management has no role.
Yes, medical management has no role. So which of these is incorrect about idiopathic ERM of the retina? I presume idiopathic ERM is epiretinal membrane, but. And the correct answer is PVD is usually absent, is incorrect. Next. Drop in the heart rate, provided you're doing your split surgery under GA and the anesthetist is monitoring the pulse. The drop in the heart rate is commonest while pulling on which muscle extraocular muscle in spine surgery? Is it the lateral rectus, medial rectus, inferior oblique, or inferior rectus? So I've been kind. There are 6 muscles. I've chosen 4 at random. In which one is it most likely that you will get a drop in heart rate? You need to tell the anesthetist if you're doing a lot of pulling there. And the correct answer is the medial rectus muscle. So you should be in tandem with your anesthetist. Next. These are the last 5 questions. Azathioprine used in uveitis. Is it an anti-metabolite? Is it an alkylating agent? Is it a T-cell inhibitor or is it a calcineurin inhibitor? How does it act? Azathioprine. Trade name, one of the trade names I think is Azoran. Imuran, another trade name I thought of, yes. Azathioprine used in uveitis. So how does it act? And the correct answer is that it's an anti-metabolite. 47. The law stating equal innervations flow to yoke muscles was stated by whom? Which of these 4 squint luminaries? Was it Gardner, Sherrington, Jampolsky, or the last one is Herring? So which law? This is not from the Indian Penal Code. This is the law stated long ago, and it holds equally true today. A lot of experiments have proved it correct. Yoke muscles are the lateral rectus in one eye and the medial rectus in the other eye is the yoke muscles. So they are yoked like do bailon ki katha, 2 bullocks pulling a bullock cart, and this law was stated by Herring. Herring's law, it's one of the most famous laws in squint. And the last 3 questions. Isopropyl uniprostone. What is isopropyl uniprostone? Is it a new anti-lubricant? New lubricant? Is it an anti-glaucoma drug? Is it used in retinal detachment surgery or a new, Sai, can you read that?
New endoth protector.
Okay. So isopropyl uniprostone. What is this? Sounds like one of those gases in retinal detachment, but it's a fairly old, over a decade old drug discovered in Japan for treatment of glaucoma, never really hit the Indian market. And the last 2 questions, the penultimate question, when does the lens vesicle separate from the surface ectoderm? The 4th month, the 4th week, the 8th week, or the 8th month? When does the lens vesicle separate from the surface ectoderm so that it forms the lens so that you can remove it at the age of 62 from that patient? So when is your bread and butter formed from the surface ectoderm? When can you do an intrauterine cataract surgery? Maybe in the distant future. And the correct answer is as early as the 4th week that the lens vesicle separates from the surface ectoderm and forms the lens of the eye. Next, the final question. The next physical MOS annual conference is planned where? Nashik, Kolhapur, Sholapur, or Pune? Where is the next physical MOS annual conference planned? And if you attended yesterday's AGM or the inauguration, you would know this straight away. If you've been following all the e-Blink magazine brought out by Mandar Paranjpe or any of the presidential messages, you would know this. And the correct answer is Nashik. Dr. Sharad Patil, Nana Sahib, and others are waiting to welcome you in the next November 2022 to Nashik for the physical MOS annual conference. Thank you so much. We have finished the quiz, and can we have the winners side, starting from 3rd, 2nd, and 1st?
Okay, the 3rd place is by Dr. Divya Ramraika.
Congratulations, Divya. If you're there, can you unmute?
Doctor, they'll be on the platform, not on Zoom, Doctor.
Okay, fine. Okay, go ahead. So Divya Ramraika is third place.
And the second place is by Dr. Saravana Baba.
Dr. Sarvana Bava is second place. Congratulations, Sarvana. Yes.
And the topper is Dr. Saumil Kotari.
Wonderful, Saumil. Congratulations. This is he's quite a quiz guy. He's won quizzes in the past with me as well. Saumil, congratulations. And on behalf of MOS NTOD, I thank all of you for this participation and hope you enjoyed the quiz and hope to catch up with you in a quiz session somewhere soon. We have finished in time, 2 minutes prior to time. And I thank Sai and Numerotech for the back-end support. I thank NTOD, Raman, Marke, and Dinesh, and all the others from NTOD for sharing the slides with Sai and doing all the paperwork. And I thank all of you for a patient and hopefully an enjoyable session. And I hand over the mic to the next team. Thank you.